Hello everybody, Glitch Reaper here. I'm back in this particular island world because, again, my previous world is having some technical difficulties. I'm trying to figure it out, but it could take a while. So until then, I'm just going with this one for a while. But yeah, I've got another Lycanites equipment combo for you, and this one is Cinderfall 2.0. It's a lively thing, isn't it? A little, sometimes a bit of clipping from one of the parts, but that's okay. Uh, it's kind of expected with that particular part, so it happens. As usual, these are collected Monster Hunter style, so you're going to be basically taking pieces of creatures and shoving them together into your equipment. And it's just such a cool system I like about Lycanites mobs. But yeah, Cinderfall 2.0 is my special tribute to the original Cinderfall sword. And while most of his properties are reliant mainly on just one part, kind of like technically the Venom Axe Blade 2.0 was mostly reliant on the tribute just on the Remover wing, this one is reliant mostly on the Cinder Blade. But, of course, I wanted to theme it in a way that really complemented its original purpose as a combat tool. So, in this case, this one is very heavily combat orientated. So, the only thing it harvests as is a sword, folks, so no really major tool demonstration. But it's, again, shoulder surfing may have that intermediate point being a weird view, but other than that, we're fine. But the thing is that this thing is designed solely for combat and for annoying the living tar out of your enemy. So this is going to get a little crazy. Now, as usual, I will kind of go over the parts that I'm going to be using to make it and where to get them. And this is a very elementalist heavy weapon. Like, this is meant to be for people who really like elemental parts. This is definitely going to be your thing, because every last one of these parts is from something classified as an elemental. I was kind of debating whether or not to have the hilt be a different part, but I thought, yeah, that might also break the elemental theme, and I was really wanting it to be an elementalist weapon. So this also kind of counts as the elementalist sword. So this is pretty much a primordial design for it. And I guess you could kind of substitute the blade for something else, going for a different elementalist weapon, but that's the thing about the parts being interchangeable. So, if you wanted to do a different theme for your elementalist style, then okay, I guess you could go for a Zephyr Blade, but this is specifically a tribute to the Cinderfall sword. And what did the Cinderfall sword used to do? Well, it dealt extra fire damage whenever it hit targets, so it set them on fire. It summoned cinders on occasion, and this does that and more, because now it also has this special extra ability where you can use it to do something I've shown in more than one of my videos: fire a huge arc of ember shots. So this is good for roasting enemies at a mid-range distance. I wouldn't call it long range. I mean, you can kind of see where they fall into the water if you look carefully and it cycles just right. It's not cycling just right. Oh, it did it once. That's all I ask. But yeah, so each of these is a kind of elemental as to where you're getting the part from. Now, of course, you're always going to be needing a base part. In this case, we're going with Zaffin Spine. And Zaffins tend to form around circumstances where water and lava unite. So, again, be careful whenever you're doing farming for cobblestone, obsidian, and stuff like that, because you might have a Zaffin come by, but on the other hand, you'll also be finding the part you need, because the Zaffin Spine is where it's at. It's important for more than one reason, and it's because, A, as usual, I really go for things that can add pommels, because that gives you that little extra bit of functionality in one shot. So, yeah, it's important because it not only adds a head slot, which all base parts do, but also adds that little extra kick with the pommel slot. So, important just for what slots it adds. Now, its effects are penetration, and penetration ups the damage that an enemy will receive after they've been hit. So even though the design of it may say 8 damage and 1.9 attack speed on like the finished version, that's not what you're going to actually get in practice up against an enemy. You may actually be getting better, although also subtracting a bit for armor rating. So yeah, you'll be dealing a lot of damage quickly. And remember, all finished Lycanites weapon tools have unlimited durability, and that's a pretty big thing. If you're going up against an enemy that has a ton of health, like some do, you'll be wanting to use these kind of weapons because you won't have to worry about it breaking in mid-combat if you're running low. So that's a pretty big deal. So just the fact that you're starting a Lycanite's weapon tool is a good thing, and this will be your base part. Now, for a pommel, I chose Gin Cloud, and I've mentioned this before, but this is probably my favorite pommel overall, because of the levitation effect. It's a pretty sweet kick whenever you can, like, jolt your enemy into the air, Night Sever style, and then pummel them while they're still in midair. So this is just a really great way of annoying the living tar out of an enemy. And the thing is that Tinker's Construct has something similar to this, but it's a modifier that you really have to go to some end-level stuff for. Literally, you have to go to the end. So this is a lot more accessible, although it is also something pretty high up, because you'll be dealing with Jinn to get it, and Jinn are found only high up in the air, so whenever you're at tops of mountains, or if you've just built a special platform just to fight them, or if you're flying on one of your mounts that can fly, which is another thing like nice mobs, then yeah, you're going to be finding Jinn, so it's good to go straight up and just keep going. And well, admittedly, somewhere around cloud layer is where they show up, so you'll be going to kind of mid-world height. And the thing about it is, you'll also have a chance to summon Jinn whenever striking an enemy. I have not had this once happen where I got a random summon in one of my equipment demonstrations, but maybe today, you never know. It would be nice. But yeah, this gives them a good flotation issue. Sometimes it's not fun to fly, especially if you have no control. Now, the next part will be your head part, and that's important because it determines what kind of your Lycanite's tool is overall, other than just being there. So this is pretty important. The head part will always give you slots, and the slots, in this case, is just adding a blade slot, and most only give you either a blade slot or a pike slot. There's only one that, there's only a, oh, well, not one, there's two parts that really give you axe slots, and that gives you two. So if it's an axe, you get two. If it's a blade, you get one. If it's a pike, you get one. In this case, we're going blade, and that's what our final most important part will be. So you have to have yourself a good head that adds a good blade. That's how the part has to go here. And this one adds the effect of fear, which causes your enemy to try to kind of move away from you. Whether or not they're really running away from you, like showing their back to you or not, the fact is they're going away. So this helps you reset your distance. That may or may not be a good thing, but again, this is because it's from an elemental. A banshee is what you're after. They like showing up in underground structures, like, for example, mine shafts. So if you're finding an abandoned mine shaft, you might find yourself some banshees. Also, they'll show up in other structures, like, okay, maybe your stronghold or something like that. And other modded structures tend to count too. So you'll be finding banshees around those areas deep in the underground. And you can summon them randomly with this thing as well, so it's a good overall part. Now, the Cinder Blade is going to be the most important thing here because it's, well, overall, in a way, because this is the thing that ties the theme together. This is the thing where we're getting the fire from. It's going to be happening whenever you've got, well, fires lit. Because any fire that's in the world, and I mean like an actual fire, not lava, will possibly summon cinders. Cinders will come out as your fire elemental, and they will roast everything with their own ember shots. So remember that they will be very toasty. And this thing, as I kind of hinted at before, it only harvests as a sword. So it's not going to be that fancy. Anything that harvests quickly as a sword, you will harvest quickly with this. But it's not going to necessarily have anything exclusive to it, because swords don't have anything exclusive to them. Now, it will, on the other hand, add fire to the target. Like, it will set them on fire. So you will be roasting things very quickly. It gives you some moderate damage, and it also might, in addition to giving you that arc of fire effect I showed before, it also might summon cinders to back you up as well. So I've got 3 different parts on this design that add summons. So that's pretty good. And remember, you could technically get this from anywhere just by setting some things on fire. So you don't have to go out in the world really crazy looking for a particular biome or niche. It will just show up. So yeah, now let's assemble the thing traditionally, as I do, showing off how this works. One more thing, remember that equipment forges, you start out with your level 1 being a crafting table and a wooden axe in the crafting grid to make it. Then you go for your intermediate model that has an iron block added to the last one, and then to get the master version, you add a diamond block to that. So, and as I said before, you only really need your level 3 because it can handle all the previous levels. And so, and there's only 3 levels of equipment parts. There are a couple parts that are craftable, but they don't add effects either. So that is something to kind of keep in mind. And they're just not really that big of a deal. So now let's assemble the actual thing. We have the Zaffin spine as our base, adding the pommel, and remember, as parts light up, that means you can add stuff there. So now I'm adding the head part, which is the Banshee eye, and finally the Cinder blade that ties the whole thing together. So now we have Cinderfall 2.0, and for the traditional naming of the equipment to show what I mean. Now, I was originally thinking maybe of going with Cinderfall Sword 2.0, but then I kind of remembered it's not exactly technically so much a sword as a blade weapon these days. So that kind of shows things a bit differently. And by the way, yes, as you might expect, you can in fact dual wield a bit, and the rule is whichever one's in your active hand is the one that actively fires, but you can alternate if you want. It doesn't show up as well with this design, but it is something to kind of keep in mind. So if you wanted to alternate between something with a remover wing for those poison shots and between something with a cinder blade for fire, then you could do that, and you could totally ruin your enemy's day. So, yeah. Now, I'm not going to go full-on survival right now, but I do want to show how fast I can destroy a particular enemy. Basically, I'm going to put in the Ravager. And one of the reasons why I thought I didn't want to go into survival is they're very destructive on blocks. Some more than others, admittedly. And so I just wanted to knock a Ravager out. And I want to show how quickly you can do that. Now, some things will still apply, even in survival. Like, for example, them running for you. But we're going to see how much damage this deals. 24 per hit after the first one because of penetration. Ouch. Oh, and I got one of those. I almost forgot it was technically time for the winter gifts in Lycanites mobs. So, reminder to me. So let's see how many hits that really was. That was 5 hits. 5 hits to destroy a Ravager. Wait, did it actually happen? Did I hear it? Or is that just a sound effect? I thought I heard a Banshee. Did I summon a Banshee? Oh, please let me have summoned a Banshee, finally. I'm not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it. He did float up. They are a bit heavy, so apparently they can deny levitation to a degree. Yep, he's still on... Well, he's kind of floating. He doesn't take knockback. Nah, he only his... Only the corpse floats. That's interesting, and as in all Minecraft, corpses usually only last a few seconds before they poof. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting to think of it being done to a Ravager, so maybe I should have picked an enemy a little less, sturdy. Let me, I think I got a classic example here. Something I've done before as a demo. I want to float one, so I'm going to have a behemoth. Are you not going to float? What is it with them not floating now? I know it's trying to add the effect, and... Was that water burning? Okay. Okay, maybe I should float a witch. That's kind of a little on the nose, but, I mean, levitating a witch? I mean, that's kind of assisting them. But I know they can levitate from a shulker. Huh. I may have a bug to report in this version if for some odd reason adding levitation doesn't appear to be working. But you can two-shot a witch otherwise with it, so that's impressive. Okay. Mixed results. It didn't think that that wasn't going to deploy this time. I hadn't tested that in this version until right now, so yeah, I'm gonna have to inform him that levitation effect from Jinn clouds aren't exactly working right now because only the corpse floats. And let's not let's try to avoid making that an it reference. Anyhow, yeah. So yeah, it's a pretty cool sword, and as you can see, it gains momentum mainly because of the a dangerous penetration effect, which causes it to deal additional damage on further hits. So you can smash something pretty quickly here. I mean, 24 points of damage is pretty impressive after that first strike. So the penetration effect kind of acts as a bit of a multiplier, and that was a pretty good multiplier. There's actually not too terribly many weapons that you can reliably get that do that much damage, so being able to reliably put all the pieces together and assemble this is quite an upside, wouldn't you think? For now, me and my lively little weapon here are going to be logging off. So, this has been Glitch Reaper. Hope to hear from you all later, and bye for now, everybody.